Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for returning. And if you're a first-time viewer, please do stick around and see if this video could be your cup of tea. Hint, it totally is. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Now, I've got to admit, the title that I've given this video is a bit clickbaity because you might think that I'm going to talk about classics that I just find unbelievably good. In fact, it is quite the reverse. I'm going to be talking about a couple of books, three actually, classics, which I couldn't really get into at all. And I just really did not enjoy. So I want to preface this by saying that I'm not some uneducated Philistine, despite, how I might come across. I do actually enjoy reading classics, and I've read a decent number of classics. I'm by no means some kind of authority on the classics. I have to admit, for example, I've never read Dickens. I know, terrible. And I'm not the biggest classics connoisseur, but I have read quite a few classics, and I have enjoyed quite a few classics. So I'm not one of these, thick-headed brutes who can only read modern day fiction, So having got that caveat out of the way, I've got three books for you that just didn't tickle my pickle when it came to classical reading, if that makes sense. The first one is the famous Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I just felt like it. So anyway, Moby Dick, obviously massively well-known book, mega famous. There've been films made about it, films based on it, mega famous. And loads of people love Moby Dick. They love themselves some Moby Dick. So what's my gripe with it? Okay, basically, people often talk about this book. I've seen other YouTubers talking about this book, people who enjoy it. And they always say, it starts off as like a revenge story. You think it's going to be about revenge, Captain Ahab going after the whale. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, there will be spoilers in this video. So if you don't know what happens in Moby Dick and you don't want me to spoil it for you, keep watching the video anyway because I need the views, but then try to forget what I tell you after, okay? So people say, but it's actually, the book is actually really about whaling. Yeah, that's the problem. The book is about whaling because Herman Melville, he's got the plot of our narrator Ishmael, joining the Pequod. He becomes friends with Queequeg and this mad Captain Ahab who's on a quest to get revenge on the whale who took his leg. And we'll delve into the hypocrisy. We'll delve into the hypocrisy of that later. So anyway, you think, wow, yeah, it's about this chase book, revenge. It sounds exciting. It's really not, because most of this book, Herman Melville goes into intricate, I would say excruciating detail on the ins and outs and the minutiae of whaling. If you've ever wanted to know how whaling was conducted in the 19th century, this is the book for you, okay? Because he leaves no stone unturned. He delves into it. It's like if you know who Evel Knievel was, it's like Evel Knievel, riding through a burning circle of fire. Burning circle of fire, yeah. And he really goes into detail. I personally have never wondered how whaling in the 19th century was conducted. And when I was reading this book, my curiosity was not piqued. So I kind of suffered through it. And basically at the end of the book, the whale, Moby Dick, the legendary Moby Dick, people know him. Ahab's always saying, when they meet other ships, he's always saying, hast seen the white whale? And people are like, yeah, we saw him. And no, we didn't see him, depending on whether they saw him or not. And, so Ahab's on a quest. But, so you've got this idea this whale is something special. And at the end of the book, the whale really lives up to his hard man reputation because, in the confrontation between Ahab and his crew and the whale, to use the vernacular, gets wrecked. He lives up to his hard man reputation. The crew of the Pequod go down And I mean, they go down. The only survivor, actually, is Ishmael, and he survives by floating on top of Queequeg's coffin. Queequeg, he was a harpooner, being an Inuit, somehow had some kind of mystical insight, and he knew that, okay, going after this whale is, it's going to end up pretty badly for everyone on board. So he has a coffin made for himself in advance, and that's fortuitous because Ishmael ends up surviving I think he survives anyway, by floating on top of it. No one else survives. Like I said, whale is a bad guy, not a whale you want to mess with. Moving on, I'd just like to address something that I have never seen anyone address before, and that is the sheer hypocrisy of Captain Ahab. I mean, he acts like he's got a reason to be annoyed. Yeah, he lost his leg, but he was chasing the whale. The whale was in his natural habitat, minding his own business. Then you get this pilot coming along in his boat, chucking harpoons at him because they want to kill him and render him down for his oil. The whale was just defending himself. And in the second part, at the end of this book, when the whale wrecks the Pequod and the crew, he's only defending himself. That makes it sound like the whale is some kind of monster or some kind of bad guy. The whale was minding his own business, and you get this nitwit coming along. Oh, you took my leg. Oh, where? I'm going to get revenge on you. Where? All right, if you didn't want your leg to be taken off, maybe leave the whale alone in the first place, God's sake. Anyway, that's my gripe about Moby Dick. Next up, now this choice I'm sure will have literary scholars wanting to put me in the pillory. Now, quick caveat here. I know that no literary scholars will be watching this, so I feel perfectly safe in saying whatever the hell I like. This channel gets, the Titanic gets more visitors than this channel. So, I feel pretty safe in whatever I say. That's not to disparage the intelligence of the people who have subscribed to this channel and who watch my videos, because I'm here to tell you that you are the best people on earth. Your taste, your intelligence, your culture is without any doubt. So I am not impugning you at all. I'm not impugning your intelligence or your taste. Okay. Now that I've got that out of the way, what am I talking about? The Iliad. Now, I know that the Iliad is an incredibly significant work in Western literature. It's just it's basically Homer's take on the Trojan War. The siege of Troy. It's an extremely valuable work. When we look at like the back here, the blurb, it says Tolstoy called the Iliad a miracle. Goethe, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said that it always thrust him into a state of astonishment. Thrust me into a state of astonishment as well. I was astonished at how bloody boring it is. It's about the Trojan War. It should be exciting. It's not, okay? Now, I realise that makes me look like an absolutely massive Philistine, okay? And by all means, maybe I am a massive Philistine. I'm just saying that it bored the pants off me. The one thing that I did find ridiculous in this story was the fact that during the battles you'd have one big name like Hector, for example. It's one of the only names I can remember, or Achilles, slaying an opponent and then stripping the armor from this opponent during a battle. So that left me thinking, how the hell does that work? Are you not in a pitched battle? How have you got time to strip the armor of someone, without somebody else coming along and killing you? So that was a thing that I noticed. It's the only thing that's really stuck. Now, unlike Moby Dick, I'm not going to be able to go into a long diatribe about why I don't like this book, why I found it boring. I just found it boring. I haven't got anything more profound to say than that. If you think I'm a Philistine, let me know in the comments. Finally, we've got a collection of short stories here by Washington Irving. Now, this is a collection of short stories, and full disclosure, I did not read this book cover to cover, but I don't have to, because I'm just commenting on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, because this is the title of the book, and it is one of the 2 or 3 stories in this that I read before abandoning this book for more interesting pastures, shall we say. So anyway, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, obviously it's a massively famous story. Got Ichabod Crane, the school teacher. He hears the legend of the headless horseman. And a soldier who had his head blown off with a cannonball. So it's an incredibly famous story. There have been films. There have been animated adaptations of it. There was the famous movie with Johnny Depp, which I loved, by the way. And my only complaint about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, this specific story, is I just found it to be a really damp squib of a story, honestly. I was expecting something. I mean, I wasn't expecting Stephen King. I mean, you know, this book was written quite a while ago, and I wasn't expecting it to be full of action or full of horror, but I was expecting something a bit more dynamic than what actually happens. I did think that I found the whole thing just rather underwhelming, to be honest with you. And so that would be my criticism of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I'd have to read the rest of the book, the rest of these short stories, to really get a feel for Washington Irving as a writer. I mean, he seems to be a witty writer. He's a good writer. I'm not impugning the writing at all, but I just found the story a bit kind of flat. And if I'm being honest with you, dear viewer, you might think, aha, you're really reaching here, aren't you? You don't have much to say about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And that's true, because I wanted to make a video, obviously, as I'm doing now, about classics that I didn't like. And, you know, the Iliad and Moby Dick are two of the only ones that I've read that I've actually disliked. I have enjoyed the majority of the classics that I've read. And that's why I had to rope old Washington Irving in as well, you know, with his Headless Horseman story, you know, which, you know, legit, I did find it a bit of a damp squib story. So there we go. I've probably demonstrated my absolute lack of culture and education to the world at large, or at least I would have if this channel was more appreciated and watched. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much for sticking with it. You're a hero. I salute you. And don't forget to check out my other videos on this channel, which are even more gooder than this one, if that's even possible. And thank you once again to all of my subscribers and, you know, people who are supporting this channel with comments and views. I really appreciate it, sincerely, honestly. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.